Hi everyone, it's Sam and I'm back with another video for lawnfawn. Today I'm using the Critter Conversation Hearts add-on, Valentine Mice, Critter Conversation Hearts, Giant Outline Love, Love Poems, You Autumn Know, Bubbles of Joy, the Brick Stencil, and the Flippy Flappy die. I am starting out by coloring all of my images. As usual, I'm using natural beige, dark brown, and mustard for all of the mice. All of the mice are colored the exact same way. I start with my middle color, which is mustard, my favorite, and outline where I want the darker areas to be. Then I use my slightly damp water brush to pull the color out to the rest of the image. Then I go back over with my darkest shade, then my medium shade, and finally my lightest shade. And that's how I color these cute mice, which I just can't get enough of. They're so cute. It's hard to tell, but I do color with my Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers in a circular motion. That kind of helps get rid of any kind of brush strokes or uneven shading when you're blending the colors together. So in order to kind of get it to look really smooth, I'm just coloring in like a circular motion over and over, like tiny circles, especially in the tiny areas, just like boop, 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 tiny circles. And for the little tummies of the mice that are showing, I am just using mustard color. It's just a little bit of mustard in the darker area, pulling it out, and then the same mustard on top of the same dark area. No fancy, no life-changing or unique coloring here. There's a lot of mice and I'm coloring all of them. I don't use all of them. There's like 2 I think that don't make it on the card, but you know me, I always keep all my images so I can put them on another card because they're too cute not to use. So I just save them and put them aside, and then when I'm playing with mice again, I pull them back out. I love how each of these mice have a different expression and position, and it really just helps bring the card to life. Of course, no card critter for me would be complete without pink cheeks, and I'm using pale orange and light carmine to add pink cheeks and to color their noses and their ears. And that completes these sweet little mice. Next, we're going to color all the paper. I think I'm going to show you, I think I was going to color something else, but then I decided to color all the paper images, which is, I'm using fog gray and light gray, and I am just testing to see which one's darker. I always forget. And I'm just using the darker color in where I want the darkest area, and then pulling it out with the lighter one, and then blending it all together with a slightly damp water brush. There's not a lot. The reason I thought I was going to use the pink first is I wanted to color the hearts, but I knew that like the heart on the envelope and the heart inside the speech bubbles were going to have gray around them. And that pink color that I'm going to use, the pink and the pale orange, is very susceptible to bleeding. And just like the red I use, the carmine, once it blends, it lives there. So here we are, pink and pale orange. Now that the gray is done and mostly dry, I'm going to just color in the hearts that I wanted. I'm actually going to use 3 different shades of pinks and reds because there's a bunch of hearts, and I wanted to kind of add a little bit of excitement, so it wasn't just 3 colors, brown, gray, and pink. So I'm using pink and pale orange for some of these hearts. Next, we are using natural beige, scarlet red, and carmine red for my red shades. Usually I use dark brown to shade my reds, which I do for 90% of my red colorings, but I wanted to kind of keep this a little bit lighter. I didn't want as dark of a contrast, so I'm not using the dark brown for this one. My last pinks are going to be with light carmine and light beige. It's hard to see because the light carmine, I use them so much the names are rubbing off, but I do know them. But it's hard to see on the video. I apologize. But yeah, that's it. That's my cards. My images, and that was the fun part. And now we're going to get down to the making of the rest of the card. I decided to heat emboss part of my sentiment so I could, when I was ready to put the card together, which is my favorite part, I would have those pieces already because I'm notorious for setting up my scene and then being like, oh, where can I squeeze in a sentiment? That's my bad. So I thought let's do heat emboss part of the sentiment now so we have those pieces ready. And next we're going to get inky. Lots and lots of inky. I'm using the brick stencil on 80-pound white cardstock. And I'm using picked raspberry and candied apple at the top. These are distress oxide inks, so they blend together like the smoothest thing you've ever blended together, especially through a stencil. If you're new to ink blending, try ink blending through a stencil first, because especially with distress oxides, it's so easy and fun. And look, bam, that's done. It could be done. You know me, I have to splatter all the ink colors, but I mean, that background is done, and it was very short amount of time it took. So I highly recommend, if you're new to ink blending, start with distress oxides through a stencil. It'll help you get used to blending the colors together, especially to see what colors work together, and to learn. So yeah, I'm just splattering all of the same ink colors I used over the entire front. I'm also going to splatter some white ink, and then I'm going to clean all that up. And here is the pull part of the pull mechanism of the Flippy Flappy, I guess the Flappy. I'm just writing back on the back. It's a pro tip that was given in the intro to this die video. And this is the, let's say, Flippy part. I'm just lining up where I want this to be on my card so I can ink blend it in similar colors. So when you pull it out, the colors are similar. I'm just eyeballing it. It doesn't have to be perfect, but this was difficult because I just used washi tape to hold the stencil on top, but it kept moving because the brick lines, the grout, if you will, is so tiny and delicate. So it just kept moving. I was just holding it. But yeah, no, easy peasy. And then I thought, oh, better splatter these too. I thought I was done splattering. I would have done it all together if I had thought this through, but per usual, I'm flying by the seat of my pants here. So I'm just going to splatter all these. I also am using a couple of the other die cuts from the set, the part that shows you where to pull, and the white rectangle that goes over the flappy part to cover the acetate, which I'll show you. I'm just ink blending that in picked raspberry just to give a little bit of contrast to that very, very pink and red background. Okay, so those are going to dry, and now we're going to work on creating the card. Here is the hidden mechanism. I'm just writing back on the back, and I'm going to fold all of these scored lines towards me. The front, it's on the front right now. I'm going to flip it over. Now I'm going to do the back, and again, fold it all towards me. I'm using a bone folder just to get it nice and extra creasy. And you do have to train this die, so that's kind of, the more the folding, the better. And next we're going to put some double layer of foam tape. Make sure it's double layer just on the edges of this mechanism on the back of it, because you want to give that folded crease area some wiggle room. So I'm lining up the back of the pull tab and the back of the flappy mechanism. I'm adding some I always forget what size it is. Let's say 1/4 inch tape, and folding down that tab so on the first crease. And now I'm going to flip it over and test it and kind of train it. And look, there it goes. Easy peasy, pull, pull. And now we can put the card together. I'm going to take off the release paper and attach this to my card front. Or I'm sorry, to my card base. And I just add a little bit of extra glue because, I'm adhesive addictive. So I'm just attaching it to my card front or my card base. I'm so sorry. And testing it again. And yep, it moves, training the little creases to do what they do. And now I'm going to put the card front on top. Here I'm just showing you I die cut the largest rectangle out of acetate. And next we're going to add some tape to the small rectangle on my Flappy part. And we're going to attach the card front to this whole thing. I'm just using glue. You obviously don't want any glue in that little hole that's die cut. You just want it around the perimeter. So that's where it is, and I'm just attaching it. And next we are going to attach the acetate. Oh, I'm sorry, we're not attaching the acetate yet. We're going to set up the card so we know where to attach the acetate. Acetate, that's what it is. Okay, so I die cut the giant outline love from black cardstock, and I love how it pops. I originally had it in white, but then the black, I think, just works much better. So I am just attaching that to my card along with the heated heat embossed sentiment we did earlier. And then none of these images are going to have foam tape because it already has a double layer of foam tape. I didn't want the card to be so thick you couldn't put it in the mail. So everything's just being attached directly to the card, which is unlike me, but okay. I am also going to attach these cute little conversation hearts to the inside of the flap, which it looks like he's holding them and blowing a kiss. I stamp the little kiss mwah to the mouse, and now I'm going to attach the mouse to the acetate. And I'm sorry that it's off camera. I am going to see where I want it, and I want him to pop up right there like he's standing on the sending, and the conversation hearts or the speech bubbles are coming out of him because he's so in love. And I'm just trimming the acetate so that it doesn't stick out behind the mouse, lining it up and attaching it on the small rectangle of the flap, and then putting that pink piece on top. And that's the card. Super easy. Look how fun. I love how excited these mice are to celebrate. And it's just such a fun card to pop out and add a wow factor to your Valentine's card. Be sure to check this card out up on the Lawn Fun blog, and thanks so much for stopping by. Bye!